after I show you today what's going on. I don't mean to put anybody in fear today, but when you know what's happening and you read what I'm reading and then you meet the woman that I'm going to bring on, just prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves well. Here is just a wonderful, wonderful woman. Her name is Elana Freeland. Miss Elana, welcome to Brave TV. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Jason, for having me on Labor Day.
Labor Day. Oh my gosh. So the first thing there's so much to uncover with you, and you're going to be, as much as I can do this, you're going to be a returning guest because the stuff that we can unpack with you, I have been studying this world for quite a few years, and in regards to its tie to a new world order, I guess you could say. But then stumbling upon your information, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's after my own heart in this world. But before we dive into some of this, I'm going to show your book. This is Under an Ionized Sky. Now, she has many books, but this is, I believe, the latest one, correct, ma'am?
Nope, there's another one. And
is there another one right after it?
This is the one that is 650 pages as I try to bring together 5 major topics to show how they all are being used exploitatively and together to absolutely control and weaponize the environment. That would be chemicals, electromagnetism, nanotechnology, and synthetic biology under geoengineering.
That makes sense. Well, that book will be in my inbox this week then, because I will go purchase it. I've already set up all your book purchases, but I started reading this one, and this. So
it's a good one.
It's amazing. I'm a third of the way through it, and I had to take my time because one of the wonderful things about you is there's a lot of people talking about nano, about all this stuff, but they don't put citations in. They're just randomly talking about it, putting, some bullet points out there. You have citations on every single page to where you actually go and look up. I mean, it's government documents. It actually, they're telling you what they're doing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's
and
unreal.
yet it's classified. It's classified. But if you spread, it's sort of like the myth of Isis and Osiris in Egypt. If you spread the death stuff all over the place on the internet, nobody knows how to put it together and how to contextualize it. And that's the key to an open source. It's open source, but you have to put it together, and that gets a little tricky. It took me 2 books to put it all together. Yeah.
I'm assuming this is your full-time gig because the amount of content that you're putting out, I mean, I know what it takes for me to put content out, and I already have another full-time job that I do on top of other stuff. To research at your level, that takes time because you have to be precise with it, right?
Well, I have a certain technique. I'm a pretty good researcher. I have a master's in historiography, which means I can write histories because I know how to look for stuff, I suppose you'd say, and how to put it together, how to build a big picture. And for the big picture, I have to give credit to my 45 years of study through my lens of Rudolf Steiner.
Right. I remember I saw some of that.
Yeah, everybody thinks of him as a mystic. No, he was a PhD physicist, and he also had a big spiritual life because he's one of those kids that was born clairvoyant. So it took him a while to really connect with this place because he was so connected with what he calls, and I now call, the spiritual world, that he didn't. That's why he buried himself in the sciences, and he saw what was coming in where you have spirit and science split. And so there's never the twain shall meet, in big black line here. And that's part of the reason that, just to start things off, in that book that you have, I think in chapter 3, I talk about three really big concepts that have sort of disappeared in a general sense. Certainly the concept of ether. And now we have it's been replaced by plasma, dark matter, all sorts of terms have taken its place when ether, not the one in your blood per se,
The
but
ether
the
around
one
us.
world, the fourth state of matter, it's called, but I think that too is a lie. It's actually the first, this plasma is the first state of matter, and what you have right before it is you have ether, which when it has an electromagnetic event, it will produce plasma, and plasma is where matter really begins. Now, plasma is something that now that they've ionized the entire sky, and I'll explain that. Now that it's all electrical, they're having tons and tons of experiments in plasma, all the way from the clouds that you see above you are not the clouds of yesteryear. These are not moisture and particulates. These are plasma clouds created by electromagnetic events in a ether environment that they're not telling you is ether. So now we have this dilemma in Western science where just about everything is a lie. And so they have to maintain those lies. And I don't know, when you were a kid, did you lie sometimes? And you know how it gets. It's like, now if I have to cover that up, I already told that lie, so now I have to cover that up. And then I'll have to cover that up as what, you get into a real kerfluffle. And that's about where we are now. And they're producing lies like hotcakes. As we know, if you ever encounter the New York Times or any of the NBC, CBS, I mean, I've never owned a television. I would not read the New York Times if it was the last document around me. Why would I? Because I'm going to have to work hard to find out. There will be truth in it, but it will be so buried and intricately devised to be able to, sort of like a magician on a stage, to distract you in such a way that you miss the truth
Right.
of what's really going on. So, why would I waste my time on that? Instead, now we have a lot of what are called citizen journalists, right?
Yep.
We have people who are like your show. I mean, it's wonderful. I'm thrilled because I have always listened to hearsay, even though I'm quite academic and intellectual. Hearsay is hugely important, and it's become more important now than ever.
It's a fascinating way to look at it. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Very, before we dive into this, because as soon as I picked up your book, I threw all politics out the door because I had my own a bit of a spiritual experience over the weekend after starting your stuff because, we have this gigantic movement right now. It's out there. I've done a show on it before. I try not to now because it's just so you can't prove anything out. But we have this gigantic flat earth thing going on now that everyone's pushing out. But also we have this political aspect where everyone's being distracted. And when you read your book, you realize all of these are such distractions for what is really, really going on with our planet. That because obviously it's stuff we're going to talk about, but also it's funny because when the intro of the show started, I remembered the Kennedy speech part in there. And then I remember, did you meet him? Were you connected to him in some way, shape, or form? Because I saw that, but I didn't read fully about it. Tell me about that.
Well, I was 16. I was a junior in high school, and I was chosen to go to a thing called Girls State, where you do mock state government. It's usually civic leaders in your town who choose you, and it goes through a process. And they're sort of investing in just a couple, 3 students to go, and because you think that they might have something for the future. How these people were so able to see that, I have no idea, because I was just a girl, just a kid. and I wasn't particularly, the best student in class because I had a whole other life going on inside me than I did outwardly. So I went to Girls State, and that was where I was chosen to be campaign manager, which was probably a good idea because I'm good at organizing, and I'm good at communicating and that sort of thing. So I ended up doing that, and my party won by a landslide, and then almost 900 girls voted to send me to Washington D.C. to go to Girls Nation. So I went to Girls Nation. That was the summer of '63, and the famous 1963 that was, really the turning point of this entire nation. And John Kennedy was the president. Lyndon Baines Johnson, who would become the president when Kennedy was killed, he was the guy that my little group spent all week with. He was sort of shepherding us around, and Mr. Jokes, Mr. Inappropriate Touch was what
Really?
I got out of him. Oh yeah, and unfortunately, I was one of his favorites to inappropriately, put his hands on every morning, and I, I, I didn't make it conscious, but later I did when I knew more about him. So on our almost last day, we all were scheduled to have tea with uh, President Kennedy in the Rose Garden. Bill Clinton was there. He talked about it several times when he was president. I didn't know him, but he had a lot of, he was already being groomed for political power because he has tons of pictures of himself on that day and in that rose garden. And I've gone over some of those that they've made public. Uh, I used to have one picture, and then I had a picture from my home state when Kennedy said something to me about how I looked like his wife. And at that time, I did look a lot like Jackie Kennedy. And a picture was taken of me with him, and it was in my home state. But that picture is long gone now because, life is long and I've been on the move for a long time. So uh, the it was a remarkable experience because I had this feeling, it was an overwhelming feeling that I had known him before. Well, I didn't, not in this life anyway.
Different
Uh,
lifetime.
you know, so it was a remarkable moment. And then when he was killed 3 months later, I was invited by the civic groups that had paid for my trip to Washington to give a talk about my day with Kennedy, and that was tough because the room was full of people who were basically sobbing, and women running from the room, and it was, I mean, no, it's hard to realize now how naive and childlike America was then, coming out of the 50s into the 60s. Meanwhile, the Cold War going on, and all the lies being prepared for the next half century to century, and and there was our sitting president on TV around the world, shot like a dog, and everybody saw it. Just like with 9/11, when they played that part of the building coming down over and over and over on television. That's typical CIA mind control, MK Ultra technique. You just play it over and over and over, and it traumatizes you as if you were involved in the actual killing, and you were actually killed, or if you hated Kennedy, you were killing. I
Right.
mean, it was phenomenal what it did to this country, and I personally feel that by not pursuing that with vim and vigor, with everything in us to bring the CIA and the rest of the parties, and there were several, involved in that assassination, by not bringing them to justice, we did this country a massive disservice. And I think we're seeing the fallout right now from that one event. I mean, to see a sitting president shot, and shot repeatedly, from different angles. And, you know, it was only later that I discovered that George H.W. Bush was there, and he was in charge of the shooter teams. There were 3 teams, and he was given that honor by his co-conspirators, and then we had to put up with him and his son for how many years? I mean, you know, it's like if you don't really take care of the past just follows you around and follows you around. So I wrote a series about this whole thing of that period, very important period, in my Sub Rosa America series, which is a fictional, it's 4 books, 1,300 pages, about what it was really like, why this country was dragged down via that time period already. And a lot of people blame the 60s generation. I have no idea why, because we were victimized as well. My generation, the 60s generation, we were victimized all the time, putting bad acid in the streets and lots of marijuana and things over in Vietnam. I mean, you know, it was endless. The targeting of the 60s generation, which was the largest, is actually the largest generation in recorded history, in order to drag us down, because we were a lot of truth lovers in that generation, and we were willing to live off of next to nothing and go back to the land and not play the game that was.
They were trying to awaken.
We were very awake. Not all of us, but the phalanx, the front was very awake, and I'm privileged to have been one of those people. So that's what happened with me and Kennedy. And during when I had to give that talk in front of all these sobbing Americans, it was like something just clicked in me that I was gonna have a very different life than I thought I was going to have. I thought I was going to be the next Anais Nin, great writer, female writer. Just, you know, I'd been writing since I was 8. I knew I would be a writer. And then suddenly, boom, no, I'm going to have to write about a lot of other stuff. Well, I didn't think geoengineering then, but I definitely knew I was highly politicized. Not in the sense of just being an activist and joining groups. No, I've never been a group joiner. I don't actually trust groups once they get really organized into institutions. But my love for this country, because I was raised by my immigrant grandparents and my mother, that idea of America and what it really meant to my grandmother, of freedom, because she was coming out of Sosischu, and Dracula, and, you know, the Transylvania and all that. She was a gypsy, and we. I can honestly say that there's not a day that's gone by in my life that I don't think of this country, and I've never taken it for granted, because my grandmother filled me with story after story after story of what had taken place in Romania, and the value of freedom to her, the value of this country, until that day on the bus in Detroit when we were going to the garden 2 bus stops away, and she said, she began to weep, and I said, Grandma, what's wrong? And she said, I just realized Dracula has come to America. And, you know, at that time, I didn't know what that meant. I was just 6 years old, probably. And yet later, when I could figure out that Dracula really was the Operation Paperclip, that the deal with the Nazis made between the foolish and already betrayal scientists, politicians, etc. in America, it was really the end already was there, but I didn't of course know it. It would take me at least half my life to realize what had happened to this country through the deal with the Nazis. And, you know, now we have all this science and technology. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, not the one I'm going to talk about today. It could be wonderful. It could be, but it's been weaponized like everything else. So all that started with the Cold War, and then the assassination of the sitting president, and boom, here we are.
100%. It's interesting because after reading through your book, which I'm going to go right back after today when I have a little bit of time, because it's one of those. It's not a fiction novel. It's not a novel at all. It's just information, but it pulls you back in. Like I have to go back and read it. But as I'm reading it, and I've been exposed to nanotechnology. I've been exposed to the satellites in the air and the space fence and HAARP. And I'm in Florida. I've known hurricanes have been guided and weather wars for a decade plus. But I'm pulled back in and I see. Okay, Kennedy passes. Kennedy's killed. And we see big tech, right? And Trump talks about big tech all the time. Constantly in the fake news. Big tech. Big tech is far bigger and deeper than anyone can imagine because they are helping run this nanotech future, correct?
That's right. That's right. I mean, that was the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us of on his way out of office. That's become, almost like a joke in the society. But the only thing I'm kind of angry at Eisenhower for is he sort of played the game up till the end.
Right.
And then he realized he was on his way out, and they probably wouldn't kill him. Good for him. And then he spoke out just with that, and it became overnight. Everybody could hear it resonating. That, oops, big mistake. These world wars and the technology in them, the massive, massive blood sacrifice that each of the world wars had been. The blood sacrifice that Vietnam had been, a new part of the awareness of not just the American, but of humanity in general was begun by these traumas, and now people were beginning to wake up. My generation, they wanted to write us all off as ha ha ha, drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but really you couldn't quite do that because there were some incredibly thoughtful and accomplished people in the 60s generation. So it couldn't be totally written off as a sort of entertainment and a joke and things. But the American had already been, the mind control of the American had already begun with all the channels on the TV. I mean, I was raised without television. Thank you, God. Because that meant that my imagination was not tainted and injected with one image after another of guiding our consciousness into la la land and away from the issues that really stood to be taken hold of by this new consciousness. So, it was already a war. It was a different kind of war going on. It was like, oh, great, we've got lots of money now. Money was flowing. But meanwhile, the directed energy weapons of today, such as we saw in Maui, they were being developed. And so, it's just part of that painful process of awakening to what being on the earth really means. You tend to think if your conditioning is like ours has been, whoa, one entertainment after another, and the chicken in every pot, and jobs, and no, there's probably going to be something you're going to have to really reckon with, or it's just comes with the price of entering the earth for these incarnations that we do for our development. It just comes with it's not all freebies. You're going to have to go through some things, and I, having had a Romanian Roma gypsy grandmother, I mean, I've known all my life that there are at least two levels to life. You're looking out, it looks physical, but there's this spiritual element that is permeating everything. You're dealing with good versus evil. You're dealing with massive world themes, no matter how humble your station in life is, no matter who's running your family and what's going on in your family. You're inheriting this whole thing, and now your response has to be part of this now. And that's a responsibility. So for some reason, I thought it was because I was raised by immigrants who had suffered a great deal. Maybe that's it. I've known from the beginning of my life that I owe this country, I owe this freedom, the bit of freedom we have had, and that I don't just have a personal life. It's not just about me, me, me. That it has to do with the world. It has to do with the very continuation of real human beings, and that's how far this geoengineering trail took me. I didn't realize at the beginning that I'm starting with what's going on in the sky and coming down on us, and we're breathing it in. I didn't at all think that it had anything to do with biology or had to do with uh, some sort of weird idea of taking over the human species and turning it into machines. I didn't know. That just all sounded like science fiction to me. So
You,
that's kind of the road I got on without knowing where it was going, in exactly the way that adults tell you not to. Oh no, you've got to have a plan. You've got to go to college. You've got to do this and that. I was on my own road already by being part of the '60s generation.
it's interesting. So right before I had stumbled upon you and then got your book, I have binders full of these studies. In this study, because I'll read it out to you real quick, the title, Nanotoxicology, Toxicological and Biological Activities of Nanomaterials. I was reading through that, and it was talking about the nanotechnology, the toxicology of the lungs, and the fact that there's smart dust, which DARPA has created, and it's in your book, that, and again, I tell everybody, I'm not trying to be a doomer, but this stuff is actively being sprayed, actively being put into the ionosphere, and they're messing with it, and they're creating things. But then I jump right in your book, and it's right there. You're following it along as well. As you dove into this, did you, and you can dive into any of the nanotech, HAARP, whatever you want, the space fence blew my mind, right?
Right?
Going into this, I'm assuming you had no idea what you were going to be tackling.
No, I didn't. First of all, I didn't know how powerful nanotech was. I was in a bookstore. It's a famous bookstore here in Portland in the Pacific Northwest. I was in that bookstore, and this book leaped out at me from the shelf. I couldn't see that why it would have fallen at my feet, but it fell right at my feet. Literally, I've had this happen twice in my life.
Nano.
Like you don't know which direction to go, and
Nanometers.
suddenly a book falls at your feet, and it's as if saying, "Read this." And this is just by Ed Regis. He's just a journalist. He's not a scientist, so it's a lay book, but it's about Eric. What's Eric's last name? It's about the guy who invented or discovered, you might say, nanotechnology, the nano size. We've always had nanoparticles. I mean, all it says is, hey, this particle is tiny. That's all nano. A nano is 1 billionth of a meter. That's how small it is. So you need instruments in order to see it. However, I learned later that you can actually see it moving because it forms swarms. It's very much a hive consciousness.
It self-organizes, correct?
It self-organizes, it self-replicates, etc. But we had nanoparticles everywhere, and what all they needed to do was discover the nano, see that you could actually make nanos on the atomic level, and then you could build a tower, you could build a jet, you could build anything with this atomic level material. And then it was just a hop, skip, and a jump to, oh yeah, and we can turn it into little computers. We can give it, like you said, the smart dust, because we already knew about space dust. We would find these incredibly small things up, through the shuttles that we had for years. And there was a collection going on to figure out, what the materials in space and in the upper atmosphere were, what their relationship was like. Could this be a communication? Could we make a communication device that would control the ionosphere? That's a good idea. I wonder if we could do that. I mean, that was the period of discovery. And just like the founding of Microsoft and all the rest, an apocryphal story was put together of Eric Drexler. And he's the one in here you get a sense of Eric. He's in grad school in the 70s. He's putting all this together. He's kind of being a little secretive, and you have this apocryphal story, and then all you have to think of is, oh well, wait a minute now. Let's see, DARPA, the CIA, they were all they had their agents in grad schools were watching for the particularly bright students and seeing what they're into. So they trail behind bright students. That's always what they do. They're not very original themselves. So then you read in here how Eric actually sat on this technology because he saw how it could happen, and his idea was, according to this book by Ed Regis, his idea was, wow, we could have a lot of leisure time. We put the nanos to work, and they're building the highways we need, and they're building all the stuff, and we wouldn't have the need for such labor, and we could then, our creativity could, whatever. It sounds apocryphal because I think the CIA and DARPA were already involved in it early days when he started doing what he was doing, but that's not included in Ed's rendition of the story. Always pay attention. Never forget there's a writer behind this, and there may be an agenda. So, but I found great value in this because there's one particular heart-wrenching text that Eric includes in here, and they are his words. And his problem was, the reason he didn't just jump on this, his problem was he realized that the problem with nanotechnology, not nanoparticles, nanotechnology made by man, the problem is it turns out it eats nature because it's not nature.
Right.
I mean, it is made from the metals of the periodic table. Yes, it is. But that doesn't necessarily end up as nature. So, whatever was going on with it, he had second thoughts about this. And I don't know if you've noticed, but he's hardly ever mentioned as the founder, as the discoverer of this technology that is now everywhere. It's in our environment. Like I was just on a show the other day talking about the dust. You're dusting your house, and you start looking at this dust. And I ran a neodymium, I think it's called, neodymium magnet over the dust, and whoa, it's all magnetic.
It picked it up.
Well, what's that mean? Gee whiz, I think that means it's graphene oxide. They're pummeling us with graphene oxide. Why would they be doing that? I said, no. And this magnetic dust, this is all smart dust. And it is all connected to magnetism. And we have magnetism. So what are they doing with our magnetism? Then, that's kind of how you have to think of it now when the science of the day, the technology, has reached the point that it's in the tiny world, what I call the tiny world, where you just kind of, oh, well, dust, yeah, it's dust. But it's really not the dust of yesteryear, just as the clouds are not the clouds that you think they are. So now the world becomes either, you see that it's weaponized, you see it's been tampered with at least, and that was very purposeful. How long have we had geoengineering? Well, I maintain, I have a cutoff date at 25 years ago. That's my cutoff date. Now, I could go back further. There are things, we've always been trying to control the weather. That's a very big part of this geoengineering, control of the weather, not making climate change go away or dealing with global warming. Now, those are just two subcategories being run by geoengineering. But the weather, well, I assure you, there is no natural weather that I know of. I never see anywhere, because this atmosphere is a big envelope. And we all on planet Earth, we all live in it as long as we're alive and on this planet. So, that's a big deal. And even though a country, like say a little country, might they might have weather modification things going on for their local area. But as far as the big process of planetary weather modification and climate modification, no, that's very expensive and requires very sophisticated artificial intelligence to run it. So this is the sign of empire now. Is this massive program? It's not necessarily presidents and kings and all that. That's just window dressing. That's distraction. And you think it's a personality, like, oh, no, not Trump. And, oh, well, whatever. That's just window dressing. What's really running things on this planet now is AI. And they make it sound like that AI is just developing, and someday it may have these huge powers, and and they're sort of nail biting over that. But really, we have most things now are run by AI systems, and we're next, and they're doing that right now. And so, that's why inevitably, where people say, "Well, I can't do anything about that." Well, when it comes for you, there are some things you could do to ameliorate that threat of being run by an AI. But only if you listen to people like me, because they're not going to spoon feed you and
No.
give you keys to the kingdom of how you could be the one of 10 humans who are not plugged into like the space fence. I mean, these are concepts. What are concepts? Is that just for grad school people? Is that just for the smarty pants that are, getting great big careers and 6 and 7 number salaries? No, that's for all of us. We have the chance to understand very complex programs going on right now. But wow, what do we have? We have the New York Times, the Washington Post, NBC, CBS, ABC. We have these liars calling themselves media, and they're just sort of pacifying you with nonsense, and then ignoring people and trying to get people like me off to the side, and just nobody's listening, and I have all sorts of computer problems, and I mean, it just I'm one of the enemies, so I get it, but I'm not. That doesn't frighten me if I'm playing my cards right, so I don't get killed, so I don't get things don't happen that are bad for me, and I do my best, and I may make a mistake, and they'll give me, far as I've noticed, and I've paid very close attention. You you just watch out for when they jerk your chain, because they will find ways to jerk your chain where it's very obviously a message. Don't go over here, or bad things will happen to you. So, all of us, journalists, citizen scientists, etc., we're all in the same boat. We're all sort of feeling our way along because it's been made evident that we're moving into a fascist time of technology, and that we can't count on our news being news. Of course, we've never been able to count on that because big money is always behind national news and telecommunications and wherever the energy power is. The big money's going to be there, and they're going to be looking out for themselves. So this is not new news, but it's something to stay aware of, because now your own biology, your own brain, your neurology are at stake. And that's why I spend so much time. I just want to defend my hundreds or thousands of footnotes, is to convince people this is real, this is real, this is real. I'm not doing science fiction here, but also to so that you can go off and do more research, because the expertise does not end here. It begins here, but it does not end here. We all hands on deck. Let's take a good look at this, and remember that even in the geoengineering movement of people who are writing articles and things on the internet, that's been what's the word? There are agents in among those people, and I am aware of who they are because these are my bedfellows in a way, right? These are the guys, and they're all guys pretty much that are doing the same thing I'm doing, but some of them are not trustworthy. So you just have to see the way fifth generation warfare works, and you get into it, and you realize, oh yeah, this is a war. This is a war for truth and for a human race. And and the human race part was confirmed to me only 3 years ago when the jabs began.
That's right.
I already knew what they were
Spraying.
pumping down here from the jets in the so-called chemtrails. I already knew those were bad for our biology, and some of them looked to be genetic. And I already knew that. But when I saw that happening and realized that was not straightforward at all, then I began to pay very close attention to how they were using this to completely take over this. And the jab appeared to me to be the introduction of a system, a computer cybernetic system.
That's right.
By which you could then run all of the stuff you'd been building up to by having the chemtrails and people breathing it in and going in the lungs, into the blood. The blood's looking worse and worse. And it's going, now the nanotechnology is nice and tiny and can get through that blood-brain barrier like that. And slowly you see how it went with each book. I wrote 3 books. Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. I wrote it was published, I think, in 2014. And that was sort of what I call the primer. That's the one where you see the business arrangements for disaster capitalism. They're destroying things with weather. So then, some guys are getting very rich and other people are having to move away from their area, like the poor Maui people now. They're going to have to go somewhere. And you see how, oh, okay, yeah, that's what that is, and that's what that is. And slowly things are making sense of how they're getting ready for the transhumanism.
That's
Everything always boiled down to the transhumanism because they want to control a human race which, well, think about it. If there is a secret space program, which I know there is, because I have all sorts of references from NOAA and NASA about SSP. So, if that's their key, well, we didn't get to the moon. Machines probably got to the moon, but not humans because, well, we're just too fragile. We can't make it through the Van Allen belt.
That's right.
They're highly radioactive. So, well, maybe they want a new human that won't have that sensitivity to the radiation. And you see how my mind is working. It's not a matter when you read a book that you're gonna swallow whole whatever the author says. You're gonna have to think your way through. Well, why would that and this, and just like me, just the writer. I'm getting raw data, and I'm saying, how does this all work together? I'm gonna have to think my way through, just like I'm working at NASA, just like I'm working at NOAA, or Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where most of the chemtrails originally took off from long ago. This is decades ago. So I always want to explain how I get my information, because otherwise people go, well, what does she know about, she's not working at NASA. She doesn't know. And they don't understand that when you have true human, not cybernetic, human intelligence, you can follow things just like Sherlock Holmes. The body is gone. There's no weapon. And yet you're looking around and you're seeing little tidbits here and there, and you suddenly put together a picture of how all this works. And then you write about it because you're concerned about citizens. I'm certainly not going to get rich from writing these books. I know that. But I need to put that out there because it's obviously, whenever you see your government hiding something, with great verve and fervor, you know this is important and that
Oh,
people need to know.
100%. Absolutely. It's
All need to know.
do you know the name Tony Pantalleresco by any chance?
Oh, I know Tony. Oh, yeah. I mean, Tony and I have been, best buds for 10 years maybe now.
Okay, okay. Y- Go
Because
ahead.
he's the guy I send people to who have symptoms that they are concerned about, and that he think that they think it might be nanotech, and of course they're right. And they go to Tony, and he's helped. I'll bet he's helped thousands of people.
Oh yeah, he well, it's funny because his name popped up because I've been watching and listening to him for uh 10 plus years. I remember my wife also understands all this stuff, and she one day walked in and she saw a video of him, me watching him, and she's like, "Why is he in his basement?" That's it. And I go, "Don't worry." I go, "Don't worry. Don't just follow the genius of it." I go, "Just follow the genius." And he has a paper that I read many years ago regarding obviously we have to eat very clean and organic. Now that doesn't mean the organic's not touched as well because it's under the same sky as everything else. But when I found out, because in trying to, and me being a doctor and I'm in natural health care, trying to get people to clean their bodies out as much as possible, this stuff, but to find out that the nanotechnology, what he was saying, was going into the peel of the fruit, into the peel. It goes deep in, and or the vegetables. It goes underneath, so you're actually consuming it. But then on top of that, studying some of the new big tech people like Ray Kurzweil, who's talking about like, hey, we need to put nanobots in people's bodies so we can connect them to the cloud. And it's almost a trick or a deception because they're saying, well, you can put it in yourself and you can connect to the cloud. No. They've been dumping this stuff on us for a long period of time. It's already in the body. It's self-organized. It self-replicates. When they turn on these cloud systems, when they turn on 5G, 6G, and more deeper, and you have a space fence up there as well, which I want you to talk about, you already have everybody without them knowing you have them. And that's so sinister.
That is, but I mean, why do people think that the U.S. has been number one in the world for so long? Well, it wasn't by being nice.
Right.
It wasn't by being generous. It was ruthless, ruthless. So, have we really had democracy? No, we haven't. But we have been a republic based on law, and that now is being dismantled, as you see. And now even the physical U.S. is being dismantled. So let's just cut through the crap and get down to how the history really has gone down here, and that whenever you incarnate to the earth, in my opinion, unless you're with some very humble country where people are small, they don't have any resources that that the big boys are interested in, and they can have a very quiet, primitive lifestyle. Yeah, I love that word, primitive. What is primitive? I think a lot of the people running this nation are primitive. But so the you have to think about terms, and most people don't think much at all, and that's maybe why this is all happening, is to find a way to awaken people. And human beings historically mostly awaken through pain and suffering, not really through reading a book where Socrates and Plato said that this bit of wisdom and this bit of wisdom, if you live this way, you will have justice, you will have goodness, you will have we don't take all those very seriously. I'm not quite sure why, but it is still that way. So when the Tony works, he's looking at the symptoms. He knows nanotech is behind it. He had big arguments with the other person I've been in touch with for many years, Clifford Carnicom, the independent scientist.
Yeah, I knew that they battled a little bit. I knew that.
Well, Tony was right in that Clifford did not seem to categorize Morgellons as nanotechnology. And, Clifford was, and I was there, so I know, Clifford was too intent on tracking down what Morgellons was because he knew it was bioengineered.
Sure.
That was obvious. And so, and the term Morgellons was surely a CIA term because it was so inappropriate. It's a 17th century term for a skin disease. And Morgellons is not a skin disease, though you will see people with sores on them. But that's because the blood is being attacked by what's coming down from the sky. And those nanotech things, Morgellons, are very hard for the liver to be faced with, which is exactly what is the problem. And it's known in Chinese medicine, because I studied Chinese medicine for 6 years in my 20s. The skin is a liver organ. It's straight from the liver. If your liver is not working well, if you get, what's the name of that disease when your skin turns yellow?
Jaundice.
Yeah, like jaundice, no, hepatitis.
Oh, hepatitis, yeah.
Hepatitis, hepa is from the word for liver, right?
Yeah.
From Greek. And so, yeah, you get your skin starts to turn orange or yellow because your liver is breaking down and is in trouble. So that the skin has to do with the liver being weakened is not understood. So that's why you see the Morgellons here. But it has many guises. And it was the first stage, in my opinion, and I build the case for it in this big book, the big book, that what is in the jabs, that now those who are doing live blood analysis and dark field microscopy, a lot of doctors are doing that now. I'm on a team of people that are international. That's where you see the next phase of the nanotech, inappropriately called Morgellons.
Mm-hmm.
It has now developed even further, and is in the blood, and is coming in through the jab, yes, but it is also coming in through the sky, because the aerosol delivery system did a great job in a general sense. Now, if you want to do certain populations, you probably will have to turn to the inoculation technique of delivery. But it's all about how to get it into the human body has been the main question. There are so many things they dropped on us over those 20 years of geoengineering that most people hear about and go, the telltale words in environmental press releases are mysterious, anomaly, and suddenly this hurricane appeared out of nowhere. They get us into that fictional part of our brain where now we're wondering, where did it come from? Nobody knows. Maybe it was aliens. Maybe it's from, Alpha Centauri. And, this ability to distract people is not difficult to do. In fact, it's a piece of cake. It's much harder for people to concentrate.
It's true.
And so, yeah, very hard, especially now with so many metals in their brain. How much aluminum can you have in your brain and still be able to think? Well, pretty soon, Alzheimer's is coming.
I'm shocked that people are.
autism is-
I'm shocked that people are still operating in this world. Elana, I'm shocked that the bodies are still moving at this point.
Well, and this leads us to what is the human being? I don't know how far afield we need to go because I haven't explained yet how geoengineering works, so that you're doing. There are several things that Clifford Carnicom named years ago. These are the tasks of. I've got it. They're all here. And so this is what geoengineering delivers to us. Does weather engineering, controls all the weather, And that's not climate. Climate is different. Climate is long-term projection of weather systems. So, but it is controlling the climate as well. Because why? Because thanks to HAARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which was built back in the 90s, and the first patent was in 1987. Due to HAARP, they now control the entire ionosphere.
Correct.
And what the ionosphere is starting at about 20 miles up. It's this band of electricity, basically, electrons. And it's protecting us from solar radiation, from the things that are coming from space that aren't good for us. It's our protection. It's sort of like for the human body, we have another type of body like the ionosphere, which is the etheric body. We have an etheric body. You can't see it. When I was a little girl, I could see it. It's a band of white light, sort of, just white light, not color, around the human body. On some people, it's real thin. On some people, it's a little thicker. And that protects us. That is a life body. That is an ether body. So the ionosphere is similar for the planet. Then so first we have weather engineering. Second, we have chemical electromagnetic engineering going on. Volcanic eruptions. Those have to do with electromagnetic events in the earth that then spew out. Earthquakes, electrical storms. All of these used to be natural. No longer. These are all controlled. Then you have planetary geophysical engineering going on. And that would be what you're seeing go on in poor Maui right now. That went on in poor California earlier and in various countries. Thanks to the geoengineering abilities, they can now destroy and then open the way for new investment, for the rich to grow richer, to bring in the way they want it.
Smart hub as well. Maui is one of the first jump smart cities.
Jump smart. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, what we're going to call them. Yeah, it's a done deal, and it's going to be again and again and again. Then you have the fourth operation, which is directed energy weapons, and that's where we all in the anti-geoengineering movement get into big arguments, because some people say that this was not a directed energy weapon on Maui. Some say it was. Well, we have to define our terms, and I am a proponent of defining directed energy weapons in a broader scale now. Now that we have the space fence and have electrified the entire atmosphere, we're using everything we can. We being the U.S., I'm speaking for the U.S. now, everything we can to become a directed energy weapon. You can consolidate it all. When you have phased array antenna units like HAARP, like your cell phone. I don't own a cell phone. Why? Because it's a weapon system. I don't want that close to me, especially me. I mean, they can make toast of me. So you have the phased array antenna, whereas the old antennas used to be sort of radial. It'd be broadcasting. Now, these different rays on these antennas are all can be brought together into a very powerful beam. Very powerful. And so those out there who are targeted individuals, you know this by experience. You say it's microwaves. Yes, it is microwaves that are probably zapping you, but it's microwaves from phased array antennas. And that's very scary stuff.
You could literally shoot particle or pressor beams and take out anything you wanted to. Yeah, that's right. Beam weaponry. It's called beam weaponry. I maintain we should include beam weaponry in all definitions of directed energy weapons, because you're directing energy, kind of a no-brainer.
Then the sixth one, or the fifth one, is surveillance and neural manipulation. Basically, mind control. This is all done with mind control, and it is easy to do when you have this technology. You can target wherever you want on the face of the earth. It's not a problem if it's on the other side of the earth that you're targeting someone. That's not a problem for scalar weapons, and that's what these are. These are scalar, and the scalar goes straight through the earth to wherever you have the longitude, latitude specs, and that's done all the time. It can be done. Mind control is not just the beam, though. I want to be clear on this because Billy Hayes, who helped me write that second book, Under an Ionized Sky, he was the HAARP man, we used to call him. He died 2 years ago. He's the HAARP man, and Billy helped me put together exactly what was going on for the Space Fence book, for the Under an Ionized Sky. I'm ever grateful to you, Billy. Thank you, thank you. So the idea that you can send your, I mean, we saw what happened in 9/11. That was definitely a scalar weapon, no question about it. With some pretty cool holographs, the jets. Yeah. Yeah, very nice job on the holograms. And to do the holograms, just as a sidebar, you need 3 beams from 3 ionospheric heaters, like HAARP, with enough power to all come over the target area, 3 of them, and then boom. Then
you were, by the way, you were confirmation for me. I found Dr. Judy Wood. So I'm originally a New Yorker. So 9/11, I bought the official story a long time ago when I was in college. Then I woke up in '08. But then I thought they just took him down. So I stumbled across Dr. Judy Wood. Where did the towers go? Probably a decade or more ago. And I researched her stuff. I thought it was fascinating. You put me over the edge on her when you started going the same thing, because I heard the hologram argument, but I didn't know enough about it, right? So I was like, oh, yeah. Hologram, that's kind of hard. And as soon as I started reading your stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you people don't own this book, you should, because this is
it's
amazing
brilliance.
book. She never says that it was HAARP.
Right.
She's right. She cannot prove it. I go further and say that I'm aware of HAARP's capabilities, and that it was through HAARP that we gained control of the ionosphere. So I have the confidence that it was 3 separate heaters, sky heaters, whatever you want to call them, ionospheric heaters. This one, HAARP. I would say Brookhaven National Lab out on Long Island would be a second one. And then as far as the third one, maybe Arecibo in Puerto Rico, which by the way is no more. The Arecibo unit is no more, not Puerto Rico. Sorry. But then another possibility is the one in Norway called Tromsø, and that is a pretty powerful ionospheric heater. So you need 3 if you're going to do holograms, because you're doing 3D, right? You can do 2 if you're just like with Maui. You can just do 2 to do a full hit on a piece of property. So anyway. This is a great book, and Judy has been treated badly ever since she wrote it, because there's a lot of disinfo around this. No way do they want people to know how this really happened, and about the weapon. I mean, HAARP is a tremendous weapon, and no way do they. When was the last time you saw an article on HAARP? It's been pulled. So anyway, very important. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Judy Wood. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, I'm on the last one here. So then the 6th one, the last one was surveillance and neural manipulation, mind control. And that I was just about to tell you. One of the ways they use HAARP for mind control, planetary mind control, is by pulsing from the ionosphere. They set up a pulse, And I'm not sure what, I mean, we know the Schumann resonance is 7.83, which is hertz, which is the same as our brain. But they are messing with the Schumann resonance now. So I'm assuming this pulsing, you would look at the different brain pulses. 4 hertz is exceedingly important for a brain activity that is sort of still conscious. You can still go to work. You're still doing your job performance as long as it's not too difficult. And then meanwhile, you're being run. You're being run by an AI. I'm sorry to tell you that.
I don't mean to laugh.
I
share
know. What can you do?
I share the same humor as you do, because like once you look at this and understand it and the truth of it, I can only chuckle the way you chuckle. I don't chuckle because I'm happy about it. It's just, what else do you do, right?
It's sad. It's very sad. And yet, let's not give up entirely, because if you find out that you're under assault, and it's a low grade assault, it's an ELF, extra low frequency assault, which has to do with your biology as well. If you find that out, what does the fact of your knowing do? Well, that's an interesting question, and that's the question we should be really contemplating with serious energy, because I maintain that consciousness changes things. You remember when, you might remember, Jason, when the whole thing came up about the uncertainty principle years ago, the Heisenberg principle. And that was where the scientists are performing an experiment in the lab, and then they've got some numbers, and they try it again, and they've got the same numbers. But then a new person comes into the lab, and the numbers change. Well, why did they change? It's just a guy in a meat suit, right? We're just meat suits, right?
Yep.
Wrong. You're wrong if you think that. Because his consciousness has entered the room, and
That's
now
correct.
the numbers change. So there are rays of hope here, that if we know what's happening, but if you're one of those people that says, "Oh, that can't be. These are my thoughts," and my behavior.
Well, and for the record, would you also say that consciousness changes matter? Is that another way of saying it?
Well, I don't know about about matter, but about the behavior of matter.
Okay.
I would say.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that. To change matter, that's a little out of my pay grade at this point.
Okay, no, go with what you're going with. I'm fascinated.
Change the behavior, yes, and I know that there. I have a silly thing I think sometimes. Wherever I go, babies love me. They follow me. Their eyes are like, it's like I must have like a Las Vegas beam going out or something.
You're pure light.
They sense my true nature, is how I think of it, because I think babies are heavenly beings for quite a while, until they start having to deal with our cultures and everything, and start developing abilities by which they can handle being on the earth, because they are otherwise heavenly beings. So anyway, that's let me finish this. Getting sidetracked, Ilona. Okay, this one's very important. I mean, not that they're not all important, but now we're getting closer and closer into the human body. And the 6th operation of geoengineering is digital biology / nanotechnology / transhumanism. And so this is the arrival. They did all of the rest of this. They got all the rest of this in place because they wanted this. It all sort of pivots around the transhuman move. And we are there. It is going on now. A transhuman race is in the making right now. All those who have gotten at least, I would be kind and say 2 jabs. At least 2 jabs.
You can call it what you want here. We're no censorship. It's a bioweapon.
Yes, but it isn't. You think of a bioweapon and you think of destruction. It's not just about destruction. Yes,
Okay.
it's about destroying the actual God-given human being.
100%.
Yes, 100%. But it is not that they're trying to destroy you. Destroying millions of us in one blast would be very easy for them to do. But they want to create a new race that they can use for many purposes, not just getting beyond the Van Allen belts, and not just thumbing their nose at the spiritual world. Uh, so this one, this is what I spend most of the time on in the most recent book, the digital biology. And what I mean by that is they have said over and over again, come across it many times, we are moving now from molecular biology to digital biology. And what that means is, you know, how they're now amping up again to, with their fear porn, to make you fear, new diseases are coming in the fall, that kind of thing. Okay, so that, if there are new diseases, or even bringing back some of the oldies but baddies, that's being done digitally. Do you realize has nothing to do with virus? Folks, there is no virus. What they're calling virus is genetic garbage in the cell that they can take. They can take it, and then they can do what we now know the term, I hope, gain of function.
That's right.
Gain of function is what you do. You put a man-made bit in there so that you can now take out a patent on it, and you can make a lot of money. And that's what virus is just bits of genetic material that can be gain of function and turned into something deadly, as long as, it's very important, as long as you have 5G and 6G systems for transmission. Very important. Because now 4G, the 4G plus, if you have a 4G plus phone, see, I don't own a cell phone. I don't want any of their weapons. Thank you very much.
You're one of those unicorns out there.
Yeah, unicorn. Watch out for this, though. The idea that you can transmit disease electronically is something it's going to take people a long time to realize that's true. And so they're not going to let go of the virus, disinformation of the last 200 years very easily. Now, why were they able, before they had 5G and 6G, why were they able to transmit disease? Well, Arthur Furstenberg, in his wonderful book, The Invisible Rainbow, he talks about that in a disease that wiped out a considerable part of Spain back in 1998. Was that the right? No, that was 1898. Just a century difference. So he talks about how, as soon as they brought on electricity as a societal thing, it was broadly everywhere, and the telegraph to a degree, then these diseases started. You see, these big contagions, and yes, I think he's right. I think it is very much. It was being transmitted, and people were picking it up. Now, how it works for these sophisticated systems, where now, just remember the nanotechnology here when I say this, now they need the millimeter wave, 5G, and they need the terahertz size in 6G. And believe me, they've got 6G already up.
That's right.
They say that it's coming and it's not here yet.
It's already here.
That's not. It's here. And why does the millimeter and the terahertz matter? Because these size rays can travel and deal with nanotechnology, because they want to be in touch with those nanos in you. You see, they want, as Tony Pantalaresco says, nano, 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 nano. Yeah, right. They want those nanos because those nanos all have transceivers in them. They're just tiny computers. And like the people who've undergone the jab, who are now tracked and targeted uh, by Bluetooth rays, they they need they need to get down to the tiny level, because now that I'm attending this seminar every week on live blood analysis in Australia. You see, there is a massive weird stuff growing in our blood post-vax. So it looks like, I've always known that they considered the human being to be a guinea pig. But I now see that we're actually a test tube. And they are loading people up. And they're loading them up through the vax, yes, but also through changing the variety of nanotech that's coming down on us from the sky.
Absolutely. And they're also
delivery systems.
I'm sure you've seen this. This is one of the things I've been looking at, because obviously blockchain technology is coming, but with smart dust and nanotechnology, it's already, I think they did it in Edinburgh, I believe. Bill Gates was involved with that, where they actually have Wi-Fi connected to the dairy cows in certain areas, so they can constantly communicate and stay in touch with the yield of dairy and obviously cattle. But over in America, the whole goal is to constantly monitor the food system, so they have control. It's like Lyndon Johnson said in that little clip, not only will they, if they control the weather, they can control the world. If they control the food, they control the world. And when they say control it, they literally mean 24-hour, 7-day-a-week surveillance of every system imaginable that humans live off of.
Yes, but more than surveillance, these are also delivery systems.
Okay.
You load the animals up, because I'm saying this is all digital now. So you load them up with the frequency of whatever you want that animal to carry and someone to eat from the animal.
Okay.
From their dairy products, from their bodies. This is why we need to really pay very close attention to how we live, so that our immune system is strong. And this was why a couple of years ago I did a book tour for the latest book, and I got hit really badly in Los Angeles, which is wired to the teeth with 5G and 6G. What happened is I couldn't hold any food down. I was projectile vomiting. I couldn't. I just wanted to sleep, and yet I had all these talks to give. I had 6 talks to give. One of which, at that time, I thought Robert Kennedy was indicating he might come. So I really had a lot to do, and I didn't want to disappoint people. So I would just, at every free moment, I was sleeping, because I had no energy. And then I realized how they were doing it. They were giving me a taste of my own medicine, you might say. They were broadcasting the frequency of a certain set of symptoms, much of which looked to be COVID-like, or remember what we used to call it, the chemtrail flu or the chem flu. I had a set of symptoms, and they had obviously ticked off the ones they wanted me to have, and I just had to keep going. And everybody was so kind when they realized. I think most people probably didn't believe me. Most people probably thought I did have COVID, which of course you can't have COVID because there is no COVID. I knew that. But I had this set of symptoms. So they gave me a digital dose of what they're doing and what they now can do to billions of people. This is
the digital. You got me with digital dose right there. Like, that's so key.
Yeah, they got me. And then I had those symptoms. Even I flew home. I had to cancel 2 talks. I lay on my couch for 4 days, sipping organic chicken broth and trying to get some energy up. And then the morning of this is amazing. The morning of the 5th day on my couch, and now I've been in this situation for over 2 weeks. Um, it was like somebody flipped a switch. Honestly, I sat up and I felt great. And it was like the previous 2 weeks had not even happened, except that I'd lost quite a bit of weight, which I was kind of happy about. Uh, and uh, and that's when I realized, wow, this is how it works. So here's the message: when you get the symptoms, you get a set of symptoms, and you feel sick. Uh, uh, you aren't really sick, but your brain, through the nanotech in your brain, is being fed certain frequencies. And so your body recognizes the frequencies as being sick. And so you go into that, have no energy, or you're projectile vomiting or whatever you're doing. Don't go to the doctor or the hospital. You do not have COVID. You have been broadcast to with a set of symptoms. Do not go to the hospital. So, the smart hospitals are armed to the teeth with 5G and 6G. They are not safe places at all. So, as far as doctors, you'll have to make that. I haven't been to a doctor since I was 13. I'm 76.
You
I
don't look
use
it.
Chinese. I know. It works. Chinese medicine works.
I understand.
It's 5,000 years old. It's not. It's not. Western medicine is a few hundred years old.
Right.
So anyway, that's my advice. And that I am not a medical practitioner, blah, blah, blah. But that is my best shot for you.
Well, it's okay. I'm a holistic doctor, and I back up everything you say. And I'll be honest with you, Elana, is so this past year, I've been speaking on Pro America tours, and 3 times I came home, and I don't get sick. I just don't.
Yeah.
But I've been very vocal the last 3 years. I got sick once in 2021 out of nowhere my wife and I both did for about a week, and we don't get sick. And then
Right.
this past year, 3 times, and I came home all 3 times. I was traveling, my wife wasn't. And I woke up in the middle of the night with my gut absolute, like burning to the extent where I looked at her, and we're both chiropractors. So I'm like, we don't go to we don't go to the hospital. We don't go to doctors. And I looked at her, and she goes, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know. This might be that moment where like I fly the flag, like the white flag. Like this is like, I'm in so much pain. So we do muscle testing, we do kinesiology, we do different, energetic testing. Every time it showed up as chemtrails. And as soon as we put binders, some herbals and homeopathics in, within 20 minutes, gone.
There you go.
So my experience is just like what you're talking about.
So this is the exciting moment when we realize that we can't trust Western medicine. It's become a weapon in the sense of it's a delivery system for all sorts of things. The hospitals, I was thinking about it. I woke up this morning thinking about it, that if you go to a hospital, you're walking into 5G, 6G land, you don't have a prayer. Whatever they decide to do with you, they will do. You have submitted. And that's why, for me anyway, I say to all activist leaders like myself, don't go. Because you're basically agreeing that they can do whatever they want with you. So now, this will make us take self-responsibility for our health and go to practitioners like you, who are not the great white doctors, that went to med school run by the Freemasons. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't even trust a bingo game run by the Freemasons. So So we need to wake up, take self-responsibility. I mean, Western medicine worked for over 100 years to eradicate the idea of homeopathics, of anything done at home, just home remedies. Uh, they wanted to convince everyone it's so technical that you need a specially trained whoever who will then give you drugs that they're getting kickbacks on, so that you get worse, so that it will continue, yada yada yada. So I know this is true, and I'm giving you a tremendous boost for liberation. You can look at it that this is bad news and you want to forget it right away, that you can't trust the authority figures that you've been programmed and conditioned to believe in. But actually, it's a blessing because your consciousness will grow. And just like they had to teach me a lesson with that, and I would assume the people who did that to me are the people who run my file, is what I normally say. And I would assume that's the three-letter agencies, but whatever. And I was able to fulfill all but 2 of my obligations. I had 16 talks to do, and I learned what it feels like, and it feels like you're sick. But I remember lying in bed at one of these nice people's houses and trying to sleep because I had no energy, and saying to myself, "Yeah, I'm tired, but I don't feel sick." And it didn't come on after a few days where you're kind of beginning to wilt. No, just boom, came on. And now I realize it's because it's a transmission. They flip the switch, the transmission is on. Right away you feel sick, but you're not really sick. It's and as I'm puking up all the way down to that very green bile coming out, I'm like. What did I have to eat? No, nothing. No. So finally I figured it out. I was given a warning. I was given, we don't want you to be able to give a talk in front of Robert Kennedy. We don't want you fulfilling your obligations to all these people in LA and then into, I still had Arizona and New Mexico to do. So, they sent me a message and I got it. I got the message. And nothing since then. Nothing.
Interesting.
I'm like you. I don't get sick. I live in balance. I have balance on my mind every day because that's what I learned in Chinese medicine, is to keep a balance between the alkaline and the acid, and to eat less than you think you need. To eat less, and especially at my age, that has to do with my age. I really don't need that much food now. But if I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat something that's good for me. So this is a great opportunity for you to become your own doctor, and you can always ask others' opinions. Homeopathic doctors, alternative health, whatever you want to call them. Find out because they're interested in balance. If a doctor is not interested in what you're eating and your balance, don't go to them. They don't know what they're doing. They're just going to hand you a drug.
I 100% agree. Before I let you go, because I know you have a schedule, I want to respect that. But it's interesting. I woke up this morning doing some research, and there was a movie that I saw a couple of years ago. It was not a Disney movie, but like a kids type movie. And it was something about talking. I think the title was something about talking to your dog or something like that. And I started watching it, and I can't watch anything now without like seeing the hidden messages and the hidden code in it. And the kid put on like a head, like almost a helmet. That was it was going to allow him to talk to his dog and hear what his dog was saying. And so I looked at it and I go, that's reading his mind. That's what that's doing. So if they're showing this, we already know that's happening. And I lost the website. I cannot find it anymore. I keep trying to search for it. I believe Alexander Graham Bell had come up with a plan. He built something where they were actually able to, it wasn't perfect, but they could read some minds. They could get some information out. However, now we're at cell phone world, and we're even deeper into that. And now with all this nanotechnology, space fence, they now, and this is known because people have actually expressed this on your cell phone, in your social media, there will be ads that pop up that are not we already know they listen to it. So that you'll say something and an ad will pop up, or you go to Las Vegas or whatever, like I was, and an ad pops up for a casino. However, now there are ads popping up for people that they've never spoke about, but they did think about.
Right, but thinking, if you listen to it, always uses words.
Yes.
It always uses words. So, of course, they can decode your thinking.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and you brought up the space fence, and you wanted me to say something about it, and I think it is important, just so people understand what I'm talking about. The space fence was originally just a band of radar installations across the southern United States, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Just a band down there, and it was said to be about being able to detect incoming missiles. Well, that was nonsense, but it stopped. That program was the SDI program, Strategic Defense Initiative, back in the Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Dick Cheney 80s. And now, but then when Clinton came into office, they put it away, and you didn't hear about it anymore. So it went what we call black. It went black, and was obviously being weaponized. But part of the problem was they didn't control the atmosphere. They didn't have it electrical enough. They needed more juice in the atmosphere, available 24/7. So that's where Bernard Eastland entered with his patent for HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project. And they built it in the 90s. And by the mid-90s, that's when the first book came out to tell us about this technology by Dr. Nick Begich and Gene Manning. Angels Don't Play This HAARP, and HAARP spelled HAARP. Okay, and so I was reading that book as soon as it came out, and I was in the Pacific Northwest. I am about 15 miles from a huge military base, and it was while I was at a substitute teaching job in the faculty lunchroom. I was reading that book and eating whatever, and there were a couple of male teachers at the table who were in science and said, "Oh, what's that about?" And so I started telling them. Well, there was also this sort of mousy woman who never looked up once and sort of buried in her sandwich there. She's the only thing I can imagine was because the next day I was out doing some yard work, and a military chopper came over my house and hovered for almost 10 minutes, and just yards above me. I mean, it was really low. The windows were shaking. The wind is blowing. You know, my neighbors probably thought I'd done something terrible. And then they flew off. I never heard a word about it. And that's when I went on a new list. Oh, great, another list. Yeah. Okay. What do they call it? Helicopter, chopper, you know. So that's when I got very interested. I go, okay, this is a hot potato. And Nick's book was a hot potato. So after that, that's when I noticed that the Lockheed Martin, #1 in the world for arms sales, Lockheed Martin owned the patents for the space fence under SDI that was now being brought back. It was back. Because now you had HAARP, and HAARP was actually running the secret space fence. under Lockheed Martin, because Raytheon was the first, and that's the second largest arms dealer in the world. Raytheon at one time ran all the patents for HAARP, and that's when, sorry, person, that's when you began to see that they were back on track. They had control over the ionosphere, and soon, very soon, they would have control over the jet stream, which they do have. And you have control over those things, you control all the weather of the planet. So the space fence now, if I were to point it out to you what it is, there is a small video that I show at different talks I give, which shows that around the equator is a band of metal now. It's a lot of the heavy metals that they're dosing us with, because that's coming down with all the nanotech. It's endless metals for broadcast, for 5G, 6G broadcast. So that creates a communication band. And I once asked Billy Hayes, the HAARP man, well, so what are they using that for communications? And he said, yeah, it's for communications, kind of like a CD-ROM. So, well, if you remember the old CD-ROMs, they're all about memory.
That's right.
Well, gee whiz, what is that? A memory? Is that what Saturn has around it? Those rings? Are those memories? Is that an AI system up there in the rings? Are they making an AI system? Is this the cloud? Is this a huge AI that they're building here around the equator? And I'm still contemplating that, because it's real. And Lockheed Martin runs it, and they are ruthless. Ruthless. So we will see.
Your mind is blowing my mind.
Yeah. That's a nice thing about having a mind, isn't it?
Yeah, critically thinking, keeping
drugs.
I know the best drug in the world is thinking and having cognitions or revelations or whatever you want to call it. I mean, just like, oh my gosh, that makes sense, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I stopped experimenting in the 60s when I was 21. I decided I wanted my own consciousness, and if it was going to be boring and dull, I'll take that over LSD or mushrooms or anything anytime. Because I want to see what human consciousness really can produce. And believe me, I am happy I made that decision that long ago.
Yeah, it's actually it's funny. I grew up. My mom was open. She was alcoholic. Did some drugs. She's recovered now. She's sober, and minus a couple times in college with alcohol. I never did any drugs. Never smoked. Didn't want to. And I look around and I can't imagine, especially at this point, can't imagine being on chemical alterations of anything, because when you start waking up and it starts popping and you're clean and you get your body clean, man, every day is a adventure, to say the least, on just consciousness and allowing your mind to actually operate and put the puzzle pieces together,
No, the drugs and alcohol and stuff, they're all a prison.
They are.
And I've never wanted anything to do with them, really. I'm happy I had the few experiences I had, because now when people bring up LSD or mushrooms or something, I know what they're talking about. I know. And I'm grateful, but I'm grateful that I did it so little and got out real fast.
Yeah, no, 100%. For everyone out there, you have a lot of new fans now. They love your work. They think it's genius, which it is genius. I'm going to work it out with Elana where I don't bother her too much, because this is so fascinating to me that I have her back regularly, because it's such a deep subject. And this is the battle. This is the warfare. Fifth generational warfare. It's interesting because I've had General Flynn on before, and he wrote the book 5GW, but he's not really telling everybody, he knows, what that really means. And no one talks about this stuff except for the very few of us who kind of like, gravitate toward this thing. But this is the war we're in. It's a physical war, but this is a spiritual war unlike any kind you've ever experienced in your life, everybody. I think you'd agree.
Absolutely. I'm so thrilled I was able to live long enough to be in this because I knew it was coming when in my 20s. I mean, we all did in the 60s. We called it the establishment. The establishment's going down. And, and everybody was already storing lentils and peas and brown rice in the basement. And it's like, guys, it's going to be like a few decades. It's not going to happen right away. And here we are. And when I realized what it was, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Because I am a warrior through and through. Well,
you are a warrior, and I am very thankful I am here to experience your work and your genius.
Great. Well, thank you. And I am writing 2 versions for Inner Traditions Publishing now. One that are shorter, maybe not so intimidating, maybe a little bit easier to understand. One on geoengineering and how it relates to synthetic biology. The other one on synthetic biology and how it relates to geoengineering. So I am doing that right now, trying to get those ready.
You're a prolific writer.
I am. But that's all I do.
That's all you do.
Life.
that's all you do.
Vacay.
Go ahead.
No vacay. I love that term, vacay. I generally don't like how the English language is being butchered. But I really like saying that, vacay.
Vacay.
Sounds so leisurely.
Vacay. I'm going to bring up real quick before we let you go. And by the way, where can everyone, if they want to, obviously I'm going to take them to the books, but where else can they find you out there so that they can study and read more?
Well, the books it's important that I put this in. If you want the new one, which is this one, you want this one, yeah. The color version is not on Amazon. The color version you have to order separately because there's no way you could have afforded it the way Amazon was. But you get it from the Rudolf Steiner bookstore in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, can you get it from their bookstore directly?
Yep.
Okay.
He mails them out and has been very kind to. He has all my books. Even Under an Ionized Sky, Chemtrails HAARP. He has the fictional series, Sub Rosa America. He's a big fan. Very helpful.
Okay, great.
These are the color. There are 60 illustrations. It's well worth having the color edition.
Beautiful. Well, and please, everybody, go buy it from there versus Amazon. Allow people who are actually doing good works in this world to make the resources from it because they have work that they're trying to put out.
Right, and it doesn't look like that now. It's in his backyard because rent has gotten extraordinary in Seattle, and so it's you're supporting a very small bookstore, hard work, lovely people.
Beautiful, and your website is
ElanaFreeland.com.
ElanaFreeland.com, which let me bring. They shrunk you down on Google, just so you know. Not surprising.
Oh, they shrunk me down?
Yeah, well, you're lower on the list of search results because, God forbid they put the truth up at the top, right?
Yeah, right.
There's Elana Freeland. Well, ma'am, again, an honor to speak with you. I'm so glad I came across your work, and much appreciation to you. And you have another 50 years to go, so I'm excited to go through this whole war with you.
Well, I'll wave to you from up there.
I love it. Well, everybody, this was pure fun, pure joy. Again, this is the book that I'm going through right now of hers, and I'm going to go buy the next one right now, so I have it ready to go. And it's not a read where you just knock it out and you're done with it. Like, this is a study manual. So it's
Yeah.
the citations. I have to go look stuff up. It's fascinating. We'll have many more shows on it. I'll have Elana back because she's so amazing. So everybody, for this Labor Day, don't take it off. Please go do some work for me today. Something, a post, anything, something out there to wake up consciousness. And Elana, please do me a favor. The credits are going to roll at the end. Wait until they're done because I want to chat with you real quick. But everybody, for Elana Freeland and Dr. Dean, this is Brave TV. As I say, just how she says, the slogans or the tagline for this is, we're saving generations. This is what we're here for, saving the future generations. So love, serve, and help. I'm Dr. Jason Dean. This is Brave TV. Everybody have a great rest of your week. I'll see you tomorrow, by the way. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about more stuff to waking up the consciousness of the world. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.